Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Shout out to Ingram Jones, Bailiwick TV, for allowing me to thieve his intro. Can we do a very quick sound check? Press 1 if you can hear me loudly and clearly on the very, very expensive Queensbury Promotions microphone that we have here in the office. We're live from Warren Towers to give you an update on on the clown show that just keeps getting clownier. Do you know what? Sorry for the delay. The 1 or 2 minute delay in the show was actually me trying to find some up-to-date clown music to play during the background of some of these episodes. No doubt the clown show will continue when the High Court make their final decision on whether this fight can or cannot take place. So hopefully by this afternoon when we get this decision, which at the minute is looking like this fight is going to take place, okay? Hopefully by the time that it's announced that this fight is 100% on, right, and that British boxing is well and truly in the gutter. I mean, there is just no doubt in my mind. I mean, listen, first and foremost, I'd like to say, like I said before, you know, everything that I've been saying about British boxing's a clown show. British boxing's in decline. Enjoy the decline. British boxing is a laughing stock. It's all coming to pass, isn't it, in this last couple of days? Has British boxing ever looked so bad? Has it ever looked so fucking bad? As you can see here, the Daily Mail, probably one of the worst newspapers going. I have to say that. I mean, I'm a conservative and I'm saying that. But look at the Daily Mail back page here. Boxing's Day of Disgrace. Boxing's Day of Disgrace. The whole situation is just a joke. And just when you think it can't get any worse, breaking news. Jesus Christ. Let's have a look at this breaking news. Live from Riyadh Al Samadi, who's the man who broke the original story about there being an adverse finding on a VADA test involving Mr. Conor Benn. Like to make it clear before we get going, I am not accusing Conor Benn of doing anything. I'm not making any accusatory comments towards Conor Benn. As far as I'm concerned, the legal authorities and the governing bodies should deal with this and go in as they see fit. The only topic that I'm discussing is a very simple topic. Should this fight go ahead? In fact, this fight, in my opinion, should have been called off a couple of days ago. In fact, I'll go one step further than that. This fight should have been called off back in September when they knew that one of the fighters involved had a problem with a drug test. But let's get into it. Hello, Stella. It's really great to see you on this channel. Do you know what, Stella? Actually, to be honest, I really should mod you up at some point. But, I really should mod you up at some point. So, because you've been around for quite a while. And we need some people who are actually going to mod, you know, because you know how my mods roll, innit? They're all on holiday, innit? It is what it is. Right. Let's start with the like count. Listen, I really, really appreciate the support. 84 people here within the first 3 minutes. If you'd like to hit the like button, please feel free to hit that like button. I've been absolutely putting my arsehole on the line doing these episodes because if you go to some of the other mainstream channels out there, they don't want to touch this with a barge pole. I'm not biased. I want to be impartial. Oh, I'm not biased. I want to try and see it from both sides. Oh, look. You come here. There's a reason yesterday we had 850 people here yesterday lunchtime and 750 people here last night. That's for a reason, yes? You all come here because you would like to hear the real. Right, let's get going with this. This, just when you think it can't get worse, it gets worse. As predicted yesterday, this is an exclusive from Riyadh Al Samari, okay? This is an exclusive, right? As predicted yesterday. This is the guy who broke the story, by the way, okay, about Conor Benn and his VADA test. It's my understanding that among the many conversations currently going on behind the scenes of Eubank Benn is a possible revision of Eubank's weight requirements. As predicted on yesterday's show. That's one of the ways that they're going to try to get this fight over the line and get all parties to agree. Because we all know there were big concerns over the rehydration clause and the weight limit that Chris Eubank Jr. has had to make, yeah? Now, there are additional concerns because not only is Chris Eubank Jr. having to dehydrate himself to X degree to make the limit, but he will now be stepping in the ring on Saturday night with somebody who has had an adverse finding on a drugs test. So how are they going to try and get around this? Yeah? By possibly, again, nothing's been concrete. This is breaking news within the last hour from Riyadh Al Samari, and of course, peddled there by Michael Benson without linking to the proper source. You know how Michael Benson does. Chris Eubank Jr. could now have revised higher weight and rehydration limits for the Conor Benn fight on Saturday, as discussions have taken place about this following Benn's positive drugs test. Again, that's not my opinion. I'm literally reading out the comments on the screen on Twitter from Michael Benson. All right? Just when you think it cannot get any worse, it gets worse. Let's have a look at my Twitter page and I will sum this up. Let me put into perspective how disgusting, this whole situation is and what a farce it would be if this fight's allowed to take place. This is my tweet. British boxing in 2022. If your opponent has a problem with a drugs test, don't worry about it. We'll just even it up by changing the contracted weight limit to your advantage. Is this how we're dealing with drug test issues in British boxing? Is this how we're now dealing with drug test issues in British boxing? It's an absolute disgrace. Oh, it doesn't matter. Look, if your opponent fails a drugs test or if your opponent has an adverse finding, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Tell you what, go in the ring anyway, but you don't have to make weight. What in the fuck is going on in this sport? Boom says game changed. Well, guess what, Boom? We've gone from game changed to weight changed in the last 24 hours. Hashtag weight changed. How did we go from game changed to weight changed? Just how low can you go? How low can you go in this fucking sport? It's an embarrassment. Just when you think it can't get any more embarrassing, it gets worse. We've gone from game changed to weight changed. I don't know what to say. I'm borderline speechless. Shevin, are you here? Shevin will be joining us, but I don't know if he's here yet because Shevin hasn't had his say yet. Shevin will be joining us in a minute, but if this fight is allowed to take place, and let me go back to the story from Riyadh Al Samari, all indications that are happening right now is that this fight's taking place. Look, as it stands, which is to say shakier than a castle on quicksand, multiple figures indicating Eubank Benn will go ahead. 3 or 4 fringe foreign sanctioning bodies in the mix if legal manoeuvres with the Board of Control fall short. Now, some more breaking news from Eddie Hearn. This is just sickening, but it is what it is. Eddie Hearn has just come out on Twitter and said the following. He's now trying to save face, and he has said, if the British Boxing Board of Control do not allow this fight to happen, then the fight's off. He will not be seeking to promote the fight under any foreign sanctioning body. So look, there you go. Good old Eddie there, trying to come back with the old consolation goal. Look, let's see what today brings. But just to make one thing clear, I will not be promoting this fight with a foreign commission or an alternative governing body on Saturday night. Oh, all right, Eddie. Well, that makes it all right then. But here's my question, Eddie. Will you be promoting a fight on Saturday night when one of the participants has had an adverse finding on Nevada drugs test? Yes or no? That would be my question to Eddie Hearn. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong or right about that. If you think I'm right to ask that question, press 7. If you think I'm wrong to ask that question, press 8. Eddie Hearn saying, I will not be promoting this fight with a foreign commission or alternative governing body on Saturday night. Okay, will you be promoting a fight involving a fighter who had an adverse finding on Nevada drugs test back in September? Because if you are, then who gives a fuck what foreign commissions... this is right up there. This is right up there with the bullshit talk yesterday about levels, isn't it? Did you hear this guy Eddie Hearn yesterday talking about the levels? I didn't even bring that up yesterday. Do you know yesterday when we brought up, we looked at some of Eddie Hearn's interviews from yesterday and some of the points that he were making, right? We looked at some of the points that he was making, and we just said, look, some of the stuff that Eddie Hearn's saying just doesn't sound right. Let me just quickly go through the points. Yesterday, Eddie Hearn appeared to say, and Eddie, if I've got this wrong, I apologise in advance. I will apologise. But Eddie, I could have sworn I appeared to hear you advance the case that what was found in that Conor Benn's VADA test is not a performance-enhancing drug. Yesterday, we showed you a study, that was retweeted by a PhD accredited sports scientist, right? And we showed you and retweeted a specific study which detailed, the testosterone gains by participants who took the substance that was flagged on Conor Benn's VADA test for daily for 30 days straight. They noticed 170 or so % increase in testosterone amongst people who use that substance every day for 30 days. And it is listed and explicitly referred to in that study as a performance-enhancing drug. For those of you who missed yesterday's show, although I know not many of you did that, it is what it is. Excuse me, let me just get this Muppet off my channel. Thank you very much. There we go. Let me just get someone else off my channel as well. Sorry about that. So it is what it is, right? So as we were saying before, here's the study, right? And you can see here in the study, clomiphene is a performance-enhancing drug, okay? So that was the first thing that we had to pull Eddie Hearn up about, and Kalle Sauerland, because Kalle Sauerland 100% turned around and said it's not a performance-enhancing drug. Well, according to this study, it's a performance-enhancing drug, okay? So very, very simply, the second thing that we had to point out yesterday in regards to an inaccuracy that Eddie Hearn stated was that Eddie Hearn stated that this situation was exactly the same as the Billy Joe Saunders situation. And we said it is not the same as the Billy Joe Saunders situation because Billy Joe Saunders tested positive for a substance that was only banned in competition. It was only banned in competition. And Billy Joe Saunders took that substance out of competition. The substance that has been flagged on Conor Benn's VADA test is banned 24/7. It's banned in and out of competition. So again, it's not the same situation as the Billy Joe Saunders drug scandal, because when Billy Joe Saunders took that substance, he took it out of competition, which is actually not an issue as the drug is banned in competition. Conor Benn, what he took is banned in competition and out of competition. Not the same drug that Billy Joe Saunders tested positive for, and the same rules are not attached to those. Right? So again, that's another inconsistency in something that Eddie Hearn said, right? The third inconsistency that we didn't bring up yesterday was Eddie Hearn keeps referring to levels. Press 7 if you heard this on yesterday's show. Press 7 if you heard Eddie Hearn in interviews referring to the levels. Did you hear him talk about, well, when you see the levels of the drug, or, oh, well, Eubank's team have seen the levels of the drug, and they're... Did you hear that kind of talk? Am I wrong, or did I mishear that? A lot of you guys in the chat are typing 7. Did you hear this talk about levels? Levels of the substance. This is something that Adam Catterall referred to this morning on Talk Sport, so I'm not the only one to bring this up. On this chat this morning, Simon Jordan, Spencer Oliver, Adam Catterall, okay? Who, by the way, all think, that this fight should be pulled ASAP and it's a disgrace. By the way, Ben Shalom also appeared on this show live about an hour ago. And Ben Shalom thinks that the mere fact that we're having this conversation about whether the fight should or should not take place is an absolute disgrace. Ben Shalom says that this is going to do long-term damage to the sport. And Ben Shalom is on record as saying if these were his fighters, he would have pulled that fight. Okay? Now, Adam Catterall correctly brought up the point about levels. Why the fuck are people bringing up levels of the drug as if that's some kind of mitigating circumstance? I mean, what the fuck is going on? I mean, people are talking about, oh, but when you see the levels of the drug, well, hold on a minute. It's a very, very simple answer. All right. The levels of a drug found in your system at the time you tested positive are not indicative of the levels of performance that you gained when you took that drug. Press 8 if that makes sense, and press 9 if I'm not making any sense. The levels of the substance that are found in your system during a test are not indicative of the performance benefits that you may have gained if you ingested that substance. So again, all this nonsense talk that's coming out about, and I saw in interviews yesterday about the levels. The levels. In fact, I may have it here, because if you look at the interview yesterday that was done with Rob Tebert, which I may have access to right now, if you just bear with me, I may be able to play it here. If you look at this, I may be able to find it if... Oh, I can't find it at the minute, but I'll see if I can drag it up. But during yesterday's interview with Rob Tebert, I could have sworn there was a reference to levels. Oh, well, when you see the levels of the substance, oh, well, Eubank's team have seen the... Have you heard this one? Eubank's got a team of experts, and they've seen the levels or something. Did you hear this shit? Just type in yes if I'm right or no if I'm not right. Eubank's team have seen the levels or something, and they're happy with the levels. If I misunderstood that, that's the kind of line of argument that it seemed like what I was seeing yesterday. So again, the whole bout of this thing, from top to bottom. Here we go. Look, let me play this right now. Hold on. Let me play this right now. I believe this is the conversation that refers to fucking levels. Let me just play this, and then we'll talk about this weight clause. If you're just joining, 212 people in the chat, please hit the like button. If you want to be part of the chat, please hit subscribe. I will get back to the main topic of the day, all right? The main topic of the day is, according to the man who broke this story, Riyadh Al-Samurai, efforts are taking place to have conversations about redoing the fucking weight clauses in an effort to allow this fight to happen. So, if that was to happen, again, here's the tweet. It's my understanding that among the many conversations currently going on behind the scenes of Eubank Benn is a possible revision of Eubank's weight requirements. Well, think of the precedents that would set in boxing. What kind of precedent would that set in boxing? We're going to let a guy get into the ring and get punched in the head by somebody who had an adverse finding on a VADA test a couple of weeks ago, as long as we change the contractual weight limit to be in his advantage. AKA, what are we doing now? Is this what we do in boxing? Do we even things up? Oh, well, he had an adverse finding, so, we'll just let this guy, not make weight. Or we'll just let this guy make a different weight. What the fuck is going on? Sorry, Shevon's going to drop in. Right, let me just send the link to Shevon. I want to play this interview from let's just see if he mentioned levels. So, one sec. If I've got it wrong, Eddie, I apologise. Let's just see if I've got my story straight here. 1 second. Press one.
Why is the B sample not been tested yet?
Because just a timing issue.
When was the test?
We're talking about a couple of weeks ago.
So how long does it take for a B sample to be put through?
Depends on, once you hear the reasons why that opening was required by a scientist, you will see why. I can't say too much on it at the moment, but ultimately that sample will be tested by a specialist, and all those conversations have been taking place. So the bigger issue here, Rob, is, in all honesty, is the technicality of VADA versus UKAD. British Boxing Board of Control do not acknowledge VADA testing. We had a very similar situation with Billy Joe Saunders, where he had an adverse finding on his VADA test. Massachusetts banned him. The British Boxing Board of Control said his UKAD test was clear. We do not acknowledge VADA. So they need to make a decision what they want to do. If they don't suspend him, which they haven't and can't, he is clear to fight.
Well, apologies to Eddie Hearn on that, because that was not the conversation that referred to levels, but I am 90% sure that he has referred to levels in other interviews, possibly the IFL TV interview, which I will dig up. I am very sure. In fact, should I tell you how I know it was? Because Adam Catterall mentioned it, this morning in a topic of conversation, which I will just show you right now. I'm going to bring Shevon in, but Adam Catterall referred to that first thing this morning. And he explicitly referred to that. People talking about levels. And it was in this thing Adam Catterall, Spencer Oliver. And Adam Catterall said the only level that's acceptable, or the only level that I'm comfortable with, is 0. Right, Shevon, you've been sent the link. So when you want to come on, you want to come on. But it is what it is. Yeah, Simon H. I mean, it's outrageous. Shevon will be coming on in a minute. We haven't heard Shevon's thoughts. What do you think about this? What do you think about the precedents that, if this was to happen, that this would set? And by the way, we called it yesterday on last night's show. I don't know if any of you were here for last night's show. We did say on last night's show that the fight probably will go ahead, but it's likely you're going to see some kind of change in the weight limit for Chris Eubank. I mean, he just makes the fight for Conor Benn, right? The fight for Conor Benn was a dangerous enough fight as it is. What are they going to do with the weight limit now? What's going to happen? Is Eubank going to be allowed to come into the ring at 175? Is he going to be... What? I don't understand. Does anybody in the comment section know now? Because it's dangerous now. Am I right in thinking this is now becoming dangerous for both fighters? It's becoming even more dangerous for both. Press 3 if you would agree with me on that, and press 4 if you disagree. If you start allowing people to do this, am I right now in thinking we're increasing the danger to Conor Benn? Because Conor Benn was already disadvantaged with the weight anyway. Now there are possible talks of allowing Eubank to come into the ring even bigger, and Eubank's getting in the ring with somebody who's got an adverse finding on one of his tests. I mean, how does that make it any more sense? Yeah, Den says just throw a lion in. I mean, do you know what? The truth is, if you threw a lion in with the pair of them, it'd probably be less dangerous. I mean, how does this make it any safer? I'm struggling to get it. I don't have all the answers, but how the fuck does this make it any safer? It's unbelievable. Shevin, we have sent you the link, so when you're ready to come on, please come on. Also, Marco as well. I don't know if Marco's around. Marco's been asking to come on. In the meantime, let's go for your comments. Mark Stanton says, fight goes on, but Conor has to stand mid-ring and not move in rounds 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. That's where we're going, aren't we? That's where we're going, aren't we? Ben Smith, when this got announced, I said it was a circus freak fight. Everyone had a go. Now look. Let me go through some of your other comments here. Oh, Tony's back. Tony, let me tell you, Tony, I would like to see your Tony, your opinions on this. It's not casting iron yet, Tony, but yeah. That's what we're talking about, Tony. We're talking about Tony's an ex-boxer, by the way. He knows his stuff. He knows his stuff. Listen, probably he knows more about boxing than me because Tony's been in the ring. He's an ex-amateur boxer. So look, he knows more about the sport than I do. But Tony, yeah, VADA is the gold standard of drug testing unless VADA takes away from your gold. Tony's an ex-fighter. Tony, tell me, how would you feel about this? Do you think this evens up the score? What do you think about the president, Tony, that this sets in boxing? The president at the minute, currently, as it stands, is the following. We might be comfortable with allowing people who have had adverse findings in tests to take place in fights, as long as we even it up by allowing the other guy to not have to make weight. Velo Soul says, "Hey Ultra Chat, will you be watching the fight if it happens?" Yes, I will be watching the fight if it happens, and I've already thought about this. I don't think that's a contradiction of terms, but you let me know what you think. I don't think that's a contradiction in terms. I don't want this fight to take place, but if it takes place, I'm going to watch it to see what happens. Do you think that makes me a massive hypocrite? If you do, I'm fine with that. But that I've thought about it, and that's my kind of reasoning for it. I don't think this fight should take place, but if it does take place, I'm going to watch it to see what the outcome is. Particularly as I have this platform. When I have this platform, we've got 264 people here in the middle of the fucking Friday afternoon when they should be at work. I kind of really can't afford not to cover this fight. Shevin. Chev.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you nice and clearly. We can all hear you, Chev. How do you feel about this whole thing? We haven't heard anything from you on this, Chev. Just give your opinion on how you feel.
Well, first off, it was a great show yesterday. I heard some snippets from the one yesterday and last night as well. As far as my take on it, in regards to the John Doe in question, the alleged person who maybe, possibly, allegedly, maybe not verified to, not confirmed, denied, or proven, the alleged John Doe who may have tested positive for a PCT, which is just a post-psychotherapy, which really is just a masking agent trying to stop those test levels from declining after a cycle, which I think one of your callers explained how that works yesterday. I'm well versed in that world. The person who may allegedly have taken this thing, I tried to examine the psychology of this person. So this potential John Doe is someone who allegedly, potentially, maybe possibly, but not verified, may have high self-esteem or very There's nothing wrong with that. And I say that maybe allegedly, but not verified. A person who has had hair follicle implants placed inside their face to give themselves a beard. Never mind they're rich. Never mind they grew up in private schools. They had a great life. They're still not a self-confident person. So they had cosmetic surgery on their face to feel better about themselves and be more confident individual. Nothing wrong with that. The same person, also allegedly, maybe possibly the same John Doe, but not verified, may have allegedly had 50 to 100 tattoos. Now, for those of you out there in the world who watch shows like Black Ink, like myself, we know the psychology of people who have 50 to 100 tattoos. They're not very confident or self-confident people. That's why they do that, to make themselves feel more self-confident and have higher self-esteem. The reason I bring these two issues up, and while they're relative, is because it demonstrates a pattern. A person who's injected foreign substances on their body or into their body to increase their self-confidence. And what kind of person requires self-confidence? A professional fighter who's about to go up 2 or 3 weight classes to fight someone who they're not sure they can beat and who's probably better than they are. So the alleged John Doe in this person is someone that I'm 1,000% sure, most likely, allegedly, possibly, maybe not verified, this John Doe took that post-psychotherapy treatment, because that would be right in line with everything they've done to themselves and their bodies throughout the course of their personal life to increase their self-confidence and self-esteem. So I'm pretty sure the John Doe most likely took this alleged possibly substance. Allegedly, maybe not verified, in my opinion.
Yes. In your opinion,
So,
yes, in your opinion. Shevin, what do you think about the state of British boxing right now? As you've heard here, the latest news coming out is that this fight is scheduled at the moment to take place, but there may be changes to the weight requirements to allow basically to even things up for Chris Eubank Jr. How do you think British boxing looks from an American perspective right now?
Yeah, this is pretty, very, very embarrassing. Essentially, it's similar to my avatar. There was a state where Shredder was losing to the Ninja Turtles, so he decided, you know what? It's 4 of them and it's 1 of me, so I'm going to drink the ooze. I'm going to even things out, and it almost goes back to Bloodsport, where you see 2 men putting glued glass into their hands to have a fist fight. The difference is these are fictitious narratives in film, in television, not in real life. So to see British boxing resort to something of this nature to somewhat for the optics to balance the scales between someone who, in my opinion, possibly, maybe, allegedly, but not verified or confirmed, John Doe may have cheated. So you know what? This person may have cheated, possibly, potentially, allegedly, in my opinion. However, what we're going to do, we're not going to punish that person. We're not going to adhere to the laws and stipulations of the British Board of Boxing or Tabata. What we're going to do is we're going to balance the scales by letting the other person, you can cheat a little bit too, by coming in at 175 pounds. And I think that's so embarrassing for the sport in British.
Chev, we just lost you. Sorry about that.
Of what took place between the whole AJ versus Fury farce. It looks very embarrassing.
Chev, we're breaking up a bit. Chev, just call us back when you're a little bit more there. I'm not even going to kick you off. I'm just going to mute you for now. I'm just going to mute you, Chevin. But just call us back when you're a little bit in a better signal or something like that. But I just think again, I'm not even kicking you off, Chev. So when you're ready, just hit me a private message or just unmute yourself and go. All right, you're still here.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, okay, you're still there. Carry on. Yeah, you were talking about even it up, Chevin. I 100% completely agree with everything you're saying here. For me, it makes it an absolute bigger farce. And like I said before, now for me, like I said, they've made it even more dangerous. In my opinion, the irony is they've actually making it. Well, we don't know for sure, but this could be more dangerous for Conor Benn, Chevin. That's the irony in everything that's happened. This could be more dangerous for Conor Benn because the weight stipulations that were put in place to try and protect him, right, may now have to be removed. to allow this fight to continue. So it looks like Eubank's going in there. In my opinion, it's like Eubank's going in there without the proper protection. And now, in order to sort of make Eubank comfortable, Ben might have to go in the fucking ring without the proper protection. It's just a farce.
Well, you know what? People will say that when people say that, oh, this, what Ben allegedly, not verified, not confirmed, allegedly, possibly may have done, in my opinion, what people will say that me saying or you saying or someone saying that that's dangerous to the fighters is an exaggeration. And although this particular metaphor I'm going to use had no secret ooze involved, allegedly, potentially, but not verified nor confirmed, in my opinion, of the John Doe, this metaphor is not the same, but the results of what can happen is the same, and that's two words. That's Adonis Stevenson. You know what happened to him. I know what happened to him, and that's a thing in boxing which can happen at any point in time when fighters are not consuming certain things allegedly, possibly, allegedly, potentially not verified nor confirmed, in my opinion. But surely these things are more likely to take place when people are not at their appropriate weights or when people are under the consumption of various substances, allegedly, possibly not verified nor confirmed, in my opinion, of the John Doe.
I'm absolutely fine with that. All right, Chev. Right, we're going to move on because we're not going to be here for too much longer. This is just an update show. Chevin, the fight is going to take place. Give us your final thoughts on this fight taking place. I think we're all gonna watch the fight. Somebody's asked me, Ultratech, are you paying for the fight? Obviously, is you don't. I'm allegedly on the Frank Warren payroll, so I think that would prohibit me from paying for this fight. So I believe I'll have to quote unquote go to a friend's house and watch it. All right. Go to a friend's house and watch it down here at Warren Towers, and we'll say no more than that. Give us your final thoughts, Chevin, and I'll carry on.
Yeah, final thoughts. If the fight goes on, which I'm pretty sure is going to go on. No, and to be fair to the fighters and promoters, everyone says, "Oh, this fight goes on. It's only because of the money that the promoters want to make and the fighters want to make." Yeah, I tell you who else wants to make money too: content creators and media. They stand to make a bunch of money off these fights happening. So they're somewhat financially, and Simon Jordan touched on this as well. They're financially invested as well. So fight goes on. I think it will go on. I will watch it. I think what's going to happen, Eubank's going to come in that ring between 170 and 175. He's definitely going to be camped out as of tomorrow at noon at Five Guys. And he'll come in at 170, 175. He'll be much too big for Conor. And he'll probably stop in mid to late rounds.
Chevin, one last question, and I say this. If Conor Benn loses this fight, right, what does Eddie Hearn have to gain out of this, just out of interest? Because, I mean, I'm not big on, like, promoters' reputations. Promoters are promoters at the end of the day. But I have to be honest with you. Last night, I checked a few accounts on Twitter from the Hearniacs, the people who are diehard Eddie Hearn fans, right? And even they are very, very concerned about the reputation of Eddie Hearn at the minute. It's at an all-time low right now, which is saying something. If this fight goes ahead, right, and Conor Benn loses and loses decisively, I just don't understand. Other than obviously the money, other than obviously the finances, I just think he comes out of it with a damaged reputation. I think Conor Benn comes out of this with a damaged reputation regardless. But if he loses as well, Hearn takes, his second top guy after Anthony Joshua, sticks him in with somebody who's going to be coming into the ring possibly 1 or 2 weight classes above him. Then there's a problem with a VADA test, and then he gets beat conclusively. I mean, what the fuck?
I mean, at this point, you know this. The guys in the chat would know this better than I do. But it's all about Matchroom's commercial value moving forward once kind of Ben gets beat in this fight. And it's not like he's getting. Eubank is a draw definitely because of his father's name, but he's not some massive draw. No. So when he loses this fight to Eubank, and we know the trail right now that Anthony Joshua's on, I mean, Matchroom's going to have to go back to York Hall. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen to Matchroom boxing once this. Between Conor, I mean, I thought that they could float Conor as a mid-grade, local, European level fighter tops for the next couple of years. But once he loses this fight, and then he has the whole VADA thing over his head, he's done. if Anthony Joshua loses one of his next 2 fights, he's done. I don't know what Matchroom goes from here. I mean, I think I can see A going into music or something else, but he's about 1 or 2 years away from being in such a disadvantaged position for himself. But I will say this for this one event: the good thing is, and you said this yesterday, there's no such thing as bad press. So the good thing for Eddie Hearn in this is, I'm pretty sure this fight would get more eyes on it because of the controversy. How much more, we don't know, but I think that's good because right now we know the platform this fight is taking place on. They're beyond desperate.
And Shevin, let me just say my last word to you, and then we'll move forward. And we may be doing a show tonight, so you're welcome back on tonight. Let me just quickly say this: you've said you've questioned the position of Matchroom and the damage to the reputation. Shevin, if anything happens in that ring to either Chris Eubank Jr. or Conor Benn on Saturday night, you won't have to question the reputation of Matchroom, because I'm not even sure they'll be putting on any more fights for the foreseeable future in UK boxing. That's how serious this is. Like, people are saying to me, "Oh, Ultra's got an agenda. This is all about Ultratech's got an agenda against Matchroom." Forget any agendas against Matchroom. If anything happens to Chris Eubank Jr. or Conor Benn after that fight, if they sustain any kind of neurological injury, or there's any problems with those two after the fight, forget about me. I'll be the last of your fucking worries, because I don't think that you'll be seeing Matchroom putting on any events in the UK for some time, because then you're looking into the most
$100 million lawsuit.
Oh, can you imagine that? It'd be finished. They'd be absolutely finished. All right, Shevin, thanks for coming on, brother. Hopefully, I'll chat to you a DM minute after the show anyway, yeah? I'll DM you, yeah?
Anytime, brother.
All right, see you soon. All right, right, sorry about that. There we go. Sorry about that. So we had to get Shevin's through. Right, we're going to stay for another 10 or so minutes. We're not going to go overkill. 10 or so minutes, because this is just an update show. 332 in the chat. The likes are absolutely repulsive. 83 likes. But can I just say a big thank you to everybody who liked yesterday's show. Yesterday on the 2 shows, we got 800 likes combined on the 2 shows. And yesterday's show got 99.2% likes. 99%. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. The numbers we're doing right now, we're on a different level. I keep telling people, don't worry about subscriber counts, all right? Just worry about how many people are coming into the live. Right now, we're doing 330 people plus, yeah, on a Friday lunchtime afternoon, not even prime time. Right, let's carry on with this. So, as it stands, we're waiting for the final decision. I'm just going to go through. There was something else I wanted to talk about, but I've completely forgotten. So we'll go with a little bit of side news. The British Board of Boxing Control have refused to sanction Daniel Dubois versus Lucas Brown. Thank the fucking Lord. Thank the Lord that they've not sanctioned that, because Lucas Brown shouldn't be in the ring anywhere near Daniel Dubois. So we'll go on to that. So yeah, at this minute in time, I'm just trying to get some information behind the scenes on what's going on. Chris McKenna has reported that this is going to go to the High Court. All right. So that's what Chris McKenna has tweeted at the minute. I'll see if I can get that up on my page. This will be going to the High Court today, and we should be getting a judgment. Eddie Hearn is trying to say that if the British Boxing Board of Control do not allow this fight to happen, then they won't take place. Listen, I think the big question mark is, it's not if, the courts or the British Board of Control allow this fight to take place. Again, the big question is, why are we ignoring the results of a VADA test, or why are we not acting appropriately to the results of a VADA test that you have called the gold standard? That's the real problem, isn't it? Why is it down to the British Boxing Board of Control? It should never be down to the British Boxing Board of Control in the first place. This fight should have been pulled the minute the promoters heard that one of the participants has had a failed drugs test. So again, as it stands right now, British boxing is an absolute fucking disgrace. And let me make it perfectly clear, as we said yesterday, if this fight does take place, if this fight does take place, and if this fight takes place where Chris Eubank Jr. is allowed to not make his contracted weight, so if any one of these things happen, if Chris Eubank Jr. is allowed to come in and not make the original contracted weight, or if Chris Eubank Jr. is allowed to come into that ring and not have to make the originally stipulated rehydration clause, then to me, that is not sufficient enough to allow this fight to happen. That is not sufficient enough remedy to allow this fight to happen. In fact, all that's happening is you've gone from disadvantaging one fighter to disadvantaging the other fighter. Yeah, you've gone from, allowing Chris Eubank Jr. to get in the ring in a potentially dangerous situation, to basically increasing the weight of the opponent that Conor Benn will be fighting on Saturday night, which increases the danger to him in that ring. It's a fucking absolute disgrace in my opinion. We don't know if that's going to happen yet. It's been reported that it's being discussed. British boxing is a joke. I'm going to leave it there. There's no point in beating a dead horse. I really hope you enjoy the channel. If you like the coverage that I've been giving, give me a 7 in the chat. Please feel free to hit the like. If you want to be part of the chat, please feel free to hit the subscribe. I will now let you get on with what you're doing. And if we are still around in a couple of hours' time, we will be bringing you the final verdict from the courts. Will this fight be allowed to take place or not take place? At the minute, they are fighting for this fight to take place. British boxing in a couple of hours is about to look as bad as it has ever looked. And of course, there'll be a press conference. Can you fucking believe the nerve of these people? There'll be a press conference at around 4 p.m. Laughable. Fingers crossed. We may see you then. Take care of yourselves and each other.